Space! Well, not really. Take two. Here, in the Mitten State. Welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek. Spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
And we are back again. Welcome, as always, to the Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite network. I am your humble servant, Trek Lord of West Michigan, captain of the USS Grand Petoskey fan club chapter of Starfleet, the international fan club. My name is Charlie Carden, and I am joined by my cohort out there in Minnesota. This is his first regular stint of just the two of us. Of course, he and our partner Aaron rotate, but I'm going to say good evening to my partner Rich. Rich, how are you?
How's it going? I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk about this. I'm geared up. I'm ready to talk about Star Trek Enterprise.
He is not interested in small talk. We're gonna skip the foreplay. We're going to get right down already. So obviously a couple of weeks ago, last week you heard us talking about the massive explosion of news that happened on First Contact Day. So we're not even going to touch that. We cut it up, the three of us, so expertly. But now we're going to talk about wrapping up what Aaron and I were talking about the week before. We talked about the first season of Star Trek Enterprise, the front half. Now we're to the back half, episodes 14 through 26. And I got to tell you that I'm going to let Rich start out and read the recap of episode 14. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So, Rich, go ahead.
Okay. All right. We're just going to jump in. I can do that.
Let's party.
All right. So episode 14 is titled Sleeping Dogs. And in Sleeping Dogs, Ensign Sato, Lieutenant Reed, and Subcommander T'Pol attempt to help an unresponsive Klingon ship escape the crushing pressures of a gas giant.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun.
Sounds so dramatic. Race against the clock. Early Klingon episode. I think we see our first chronological Klingon female, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't know if when we've seen the Klingons twice this season. They were obviously heavy in the premiere. They were in the episode where Trip gets pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
which we talked about. Aaron was infatuated and called it Trip in the Space Nipple or something. We tried to get it put in the YouTube description or in the episode description, but Extra wasn't having it. So, but anyway, Trip in the Space Nipple. So, yeah, this is maybe our first chronological Klingon female. Not a bad looking woman, I'm going to say. Not that we should really judge people by that regard, but as far as the episode, nothing memorable about it in any way, shape, or form for me.
I only had one thing. Well, first, two things, I guess. I loved in this season the early on tensions between the Vulcans and the humans, and that's apparent here as well. Mm-hmm. But then the thing that killed me was there was a very cringy T'Pol falling over on Archer and boobs in the face bit.
Oh, that's so much of that in this first season. The decon chamber. I mean, even
right. Yeah.
I don't know if I think it was at the end of this episode. Was it the end of this episode? They had the extended decon chamber where they're all sitting there like, you guys can get out now. No, we're good. We're just going to sit here. And it's just Reed with no shirt on, T'Pol with those boobs hanging out. It's like, it makes it very difficult in this, era of such great storytelling to see things that were an obvious ploy by network executives to get young boys watch. Oh, there's boobs. Ooh. Right. Yeah. Right. I just, wow, a big pass for me. So anyway, we move on to an episode that is marginally more exciting with episode 15.
Episode 15, The Shadows of P'Jem. Is it P'Jem or P'Jem?
P'Jem. They're stealing our gerbs.
I can't read it. There we go. I got my old man eyes on here.
Keep squinting. Yeah. You got it.
It is P'Jem. Okay, so Shadows of P'Jem. And Subcommander T'Pol is recalled to Vulcan. During her final away mission, she and Captain Archer are kidnapped, leading to another confrontation between Vulcans and Andorians.
I liked it. This was, you're setting up, again, this was a spinning off of the first Pajem episode, which was episode 7 or 8 or something like that. Something that was established in this that never really got touched in the original series was that before the founding of the Federation, which there were 5 worlds, there was, let's see if I remember from memory, Earth, Vulcan, Andor, Tellar, or the Tellarites, and Alpha Centauri, which I think was actually an Earth colony. Those were your 5 founding worlds of the Federation. So these 2 were obviously 2 of them. Neighboring systems hated each other, taking every chance to spy and scrap and have this Cold War that they just can't friggin' stand each other. So this was a good tip to that. It was the result of that first episode that the Andorians bombed Pajem and destroyed it, and because of that, T'Pol is being recalled and obviously is going to be punished. But during this away mission, she's obviously able to redeem herself and stay aboard the ship. So this continues, and again, we get the return of Jeffrey Combs as Commander Shran. Great character, and just getting, I think, further development to what we see as what continues to be a great story arc for Shran throughout the rest of the series, and then within this Vulcan conflict to see it kind of continue and deepen. So good kind of geopolitical stuff, which I think is always what made Deep Space Nine so superior, was that geopolitical intrigue myself.
Right. Yeah. I'd have to agree. I think that I do like that that because Vulcans always seem so like, well, how do you say it? Like they just don't want to have a beef with anybody. Right. And yet,
right
now we've got these Andorians, and the Andorians and the Vulcans have beef, and it's interesting to me. I like seeing these early versions of the Vulcans, at least as far as, their interactions with humans and interactions that we're first witnessing. So I appreciated this one for that reason. I mean, yeah.
And the irony of the Vulcans having a beef, they're vegetarians.
Right.
How did that work out? Oh, my God. It's totally insane. All right. Moving along. Episode 16. Go ahead.
Episode 16. Okay. Oh, boy. We're going to have to talk about this one. All right. So episode 16 is Shuttle Pod 1. After finding debris from Enterprise, Lieutenant Reed and Commander Tucker are stranded in a shuttle pod far from help.
Well, it's an opportunity to dig in and get to know these characters a little bit better. As Aaron was talking about on our breakdown of the first half of season 1. I mean, Reed's just a boring ass character. Right. Nobody wants. Even his parents didn't want to get to know him. They think he was such a dud. So it's weird in this episode to hear him writing all these Dear Jane letters to all these chicks he slept with back in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And just having Trip punctuate that and having the 2 of them kind of scrap it out. It's weird that I don't necessarily feel like this. It's almost felt like an attempt to set up like a Bashir and O'Brien kind of friendship that, like, you saw really heavily in DS9. But I just don't feel like that continued to move forward from this point in the series. Now, as we continue to watch the show again, obviously I've seen it many times in the past, the series all the way through, but I'm not recalling that the 2 of them had some great bombastic friendship that they were going off and doing stuff. So I don't know. It was clear it was a setup that maybe didn't end up having to pay off in the long run. So I'm just not. I'm kind of fuzzy on this one. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. I think that when they go to have shore leave, they what episode was that? 2 days and 2 nights later on in the season. They go off to get space action together, right? They go to the bar together, so they're kind of giving each other kind of like the ribbing and all that, and then of course they have to work together to get out of their little thing. But we'll get into that one, but. I don't know. I feel like it did set up a little bit.
Okay.
I haven't seen any of the rest of it, so I don't really know.
Gotcha.
But it feels hopeful that there's a setup here, because when the episode first started and Trip was really getting into Reed and like laying into him, I started to feel like he was a bit of an ass, and I started to like him a little bit less. But as it progressed, I loved that we had this character study, right, where it was quiet in a way, and these 2 characters are just kind of laid bare and available to us. Right. And I really appreciated that. And honestly, this was one of my favorite episodes of the back half, at least.
No kidding.
I really liked it.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, leading in this next episode, this was actually one of mine, because I feel like it really touched on one of Trek's touchstones, which is kind of social commentary. Episode 17 is Fusion.
Yeah, Fusion. Enterprise encounters a crew of emotional Vulcans. Subcommander T'Pol experiences an illicit mind meld with unsettling results.
Man, this one really spoke to me. So
Yeah.
I'm not remembering the name of the other Vulcan, but they stumble upon, as I said, a crew of kind of hippie Vulcans. And
Yes.
boy, these guys are going to be kind of cool. The one guy turns out to be a total fucking rapist, and it
He
drives
is a
me
rapist, yeah.
because that's exactly, he not only violates her by basically refusing to initiate it's date rape, he refusing to break off the mind meld when she says this isn't working for me. But what you do find out in later episodes, spoiler alert, is that it's actually gives her an STD, as heavily talked about. And again, extending the social commentary metaphor into, I believe it is season 2, so we'll get there eventually, an episode called Stigma, where it's revealed that this type of mind melding can actually transmit a parasite that damages her ability to control her emotions, which are further damaged by her experiences in the Necrid Expanse. Did I call it the Necrid Expanse? I don't actually think that's what it's called. I think that's from Voyager. Damn it! In season 3, the Expanse thing they have to go into with the Xindi.
I can't help you. I've never seen this. This is my first watch through of Enterprise.
I would have to. I have a map in my dining room. that is a Federation that has it mapped out. So I'm embarrassed. Please hit me up on Twitter if I've not figured it out by the time this is going on, because I'm embarrassed. But at any rate, this really lays a groundwork, it's strong groundwork for kind of her emotional growth and struggles over the course of the series. So I would say it's one of the finest episodes of this first season, because again, Star Trek has always really benchmarked itself on social commentary, and clearly sexual assault, rape, all things of that nature have always been extremely pivotal. But certainly in this day and age with the Me Too movement and things of that nature, they come that much more into a global lens. So this was, in that regard, I won't say it's ahead of its time per se, because these have always been issues. But it really, I think, lenses down on something that is incredibly relevant to us in this day and age. So I like this episode very much. It really spoke to me.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. This was a fantastic episode. It had me reacting to it, which I really didn't react to many of these episodes, but this one had me when he's forcing himself on her. I was like cringing back in my seat,
Totally.
Like, this is uncomfortable, even more so now, like you said, with the Me Too movement and all this that's going on now in our world. It makes it even more uncomfortable. And I can't imagine what it would be like for someone who's experienced something like that to see this. Probably empowering, but also maybe a little triggering as well. But
I have no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. So this one, I think in this day and age would carry a warning if it was rebroadcast, and totally should be. So definitely. Wonderful episode. Not so sure I can say that about episode 18, because it kind of felt run of the mill. So this would be Rogue Planet.
Yep, Rogue Planet. While exploring an uncharted planet, Enterprise crew members encounter a group of aliens who are hunting down indigenous creatures, wraiths, for sport. Stephanie Niznik guest stars as the Wraith alien.
And the only reason that's relevant is that she had a very minor role in Star Trek Insurrection. She was the Trill helm officer.
Yeah,
okay. She was. So she had a handful of lines, and she kind of smirked at Riker when he was flying the ship, and so anyway. So this kind of stole a plot line from an episode of DS9 in season 1 called was it called Captive? What the hell was that? With Tosk.
Yeah,
it was like the Tosk episode.
I can't remember the name of it, but yeah.
Yeah, and I by the way, it's the Delphic Expanse. It's like it was rattling around in my head. That's the thing with my brain. We've got like this good 60-40 rule of useless information. The 60 is definitely the Star Trek stuff, but it tends to move in like icebergs around my brain. So every once in a while, a couple of them will smack together. So same as that Tosk episode, but you put a pretty girl in there. Does it make it better? Does it make it worse? I mean, this I think is a great example of how You know, we go great episode, lame episode, great episode, lame, great, lame, great, because you have 26 episodes on broadcast TV. So it's not like now where it's like you've got this Netflix series and it's 8 episodes or it's 10 episodes, and maybe you get one really lame one. But again, generally when that happens, it's one big long story, where this is really broke up into story of the week, which is kind of what we've been told that we can expect from Strange New Worlds, the Captain Pike series that we should be seeing probably in 2022. So yeah, I felt this was kind of a miss. I didn't find anything really memorable about it myself.
Okay. I started off, one of my first notes was that it seems like it's filler. It seems like they just put it there to kind of flesh out the 26 episode season. Mm-hmm. But as it went on, I did notice a couple of things. The idea of preservation is prevalent. Mm-hmm. In that, so they do still try to keep the Star Trekkiness of it present with that, and then the other thing is they said they only hunt creatures that aren't sentient, and I thought to myself, are Borg not sentient? Because to be sentient means that you're aware of that you're alive, and that if something else happens, you won't be alive, right? Right. So they see Borg as not sentient creatures, which is really, I don't know, kind of weird, right? I don't know.
Right.
To me, it felt weird to me.
Because I mean, when you see them, they're like big slugs or whatever. So are they judging them in that regard? I don't know. Yeah. So that part of it could be, but anyway, the next episode, hands down, is packed with a lot of fun. It's packed with a lot of great familiar faces. I love it. But it does get away with one of the tropes that happens more than once in this series, which is bringing up a familiar species, but because we never say the name of them, we've never met them before. That would be episode 19, Acquisition. So go ahead.
Acquisition, a group of Ferengi hijack Enterprise, but Commander Tucker, Captain Archer, and Sub-Commander T'Pol resist the pirates in order to win back their ship.
Fun episode. Yes.
Absolutely.
I liked this. It was it was kind of your diehard, on the Enterprise.
Yes, that's an apt description. I like that.
We were absolutely packed with stalwart Trek actors. We also, of course, had Ethan Phillips, who was Neelix on Voyager. You again have, this is beautiful, in a dual role within the same season, and again, he even did it sometimes within the same episode. Jeffrey Brunt plays one of the Ferengi. You have the venerable, who has history all the way back to the first season of the original series, Clint Howard, as a child, was Blaylock in the episode The Corbinite Maneuver. If you're dreaming back, that little kid, the episode I'm talking about? Yep,
I do.
That was Clint Howard at a time that his brother was playing Opie on the Andy Griffith Show. This is what Clint Howard was doing. He tells a great story. Quick sidebar. He tells a great story that he had to drink. Tranya was the drink that he had to share with Captain Kirk in the away party, and it was grapefruit juice or something. He turned to his dad on set and said, "Dad, I really don't like this." He says, "You're an actor. You have to act like you like it." And the kid was like 4 years old, and he did it. I just have always loved that story. But fun episode. I love it when the Ferengi is trying to use their UT, their Universal Translator, on Porthos, who is one of my favorite characters on the show. But it was an absolute winner. Just a fun episode.
Yeah, they definitely didn't know what to make of the dog. Yeah, he was confusing to them. There's another familiar face to me anyway. Herbert West from the Reanimator series. This is an old schlock horror series from the 80s.
I know. I was thinking of the movie because the movie, right? Wasn't it a movie?
The Reanimator. Yep.
With Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Oh, okay. So I didn't pin which character was Herb. Was it Herb West as the actor? Which character was he in that movie?
In the movie, he was the Reanimator. He was I thought he was, wasn't he? Wasn't Herbert West the Reanimator?
Jeffrey Combs was the Reanimator, I thought.
Was he?
Okay. Okay, we'll
figure it out.
We'll have to dig into this, or again, hit us up on Twitter if we do not figure it out. So, totally awesome. The only thing to me, any other thoughts? I'm sorry, before we move on.
No, as I was going through everything in my notes is just, hey, that's Neelix, or hey, that's so it was just noticing people. And Trip got to be the rescue person again. And he did it in his underwear, which they're going to bring up again later. So in
his underwear. Well, those guest stars are all great, but nothing trounces in this next episode, which could potentially otherwise kind of forgettable. But episode Oasis giving us the superb Clancy Brown.
Yes, Clancy Brown. Yes, Captain Archer and an away team find a mysterious crew apparently alive on a ship that crash landed years ago.
And what I just said was completely inaccurate. I was jumping forward to a different episode. So, no, the superb guest actor in this is Rene Auberjonois, the late Rene Auberjonois, who is, of course, Odo on DS9.
Right.
That being said, this is directly a ripoff of an episode of Deep Space Nine from season 2. There was an episode where Dax and Odo are together in the Gamma Quadrant. They land on a planet where there's one guy who ultimately turns out recreated the dead people on his ship to be holograms. He'd been there for a few generations, so people died and born. And so, oh boy,
it was a snooze fest.
Yeah, and it's just they were a little early and a little late at the same time to be just rehashing, like, let's just, DS9 wasn't that popular, particularly in the first 3 seasons. Let's steal this plot line and see if anybody notices. Well, we did. And it sucks. So that's almost as embarrassing as me screwing up the guest stars. But speaking of a cavalcade of guest stars, they do not stop headed into episode 21, which is Detained.
Yes, Detained in the episode. Captain Archer and Ensign Mayweather find themselves imprisoned on a Suliban internment camp run by the Tendarians.
Now, great social commentary, because you've got, and they make direct references to Manzanar from World War II, the Japanese internment camps that happened in Southern California largely. But what really drives it home is your primary guest star is a post-Quantum Leap, but pre-Battlestar Galactica, Dean Stockwell.
Yes.
Obviously, Scott Bakula's co-star for 5 seasons of Quantum Leap. To me, and we've talked about this on SFU, Oxtra and I have, as being an absolutely evergreen, timeless show that I think, probably primarily because it was set in the past, and it was easy enough to dismiss, like, oh, it's 1999, and he has an iPhone that blinks and all this different shit. The rest of it, thematically, and the way that show was written, I could watch it on a loop. I love that show so much. It was absolutely fantastic. So, I thought this was a great episode for commentary, and really, Colonel Grat was the name of Stockwell's character, was absolutely a great phony baloney. Oh yeah, everything. We've detained them, but they're having a trial. Come to the planet. Blah blah blah. Oh, it's going to be delayed. Oh, it's this and that. So just a typical political strongman BS.
Right.
He absolutely pulled it off. I think he did a great job.
Yeah, he's always good. I just think he's always good. And he's one of those character actors that you're going to get that kind of performance out of him too. He's always going to be able to pull something out of that treasure trove of experience that he's got.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things that I really liked about this, though, is that it felt so relevant to today. Even though, 20 years ago it was still relevant, because 20 years ago, or whatever it was, it would have been 19 years ago, maybe 2001, 2002. We're talking about Guantanamo Bay, right? Mm-hmm. And then now we're talking about the Mexico-Texas state line, right?
Exactly,
or
correct.
border. It's like, how are we still dealing with this shit 20 years, after 40 years, after 60 years? How are we still dealing with this?
Extremely poorly, clearly.
Yes, no kidding.
Oh my God, absolutely horrible. So, moving on, we have another friggin' filler episode, and unfortunately directed by Roxanne Dawson, who's obviously was B'Elanna Torres on Voyager, but Vox Sola is the name of this episode.
Vox Sola, a strange symbiotic alien creature, boards Enterprise and starts kidnapping members of the crew. Yeah.
Rehash of, there was a season 3 episode of TNG called Evolution, where there were nanites it was Wesley's science experiment gone wrong, and they got into the computer and they started to replicate, and in doing this they become a sentient life form. So it was the same thing. Well, if we kill them, we get control of the ship back. And then this, well, if we kill them, then, 4 crew members will die, blah, blah, blah. So we're just really grinding in there. Like, let's see what we can steal. It's like the show The Orville, which I kind of enjoyed, but any episode of that show had easily somewhere between 2 and 4 recycled plot lines from Star Trek The Next Generation. and that's really what a lot of the season feels like. So yeah, this was to quote Randy from American Idol. It's a no for me, dog.
It's a no for me, dog. Nice. The first thing I thought and the first thing that I wrote down was I'm gonna be waiting for baby aliens to come splashing out of these people's chests.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because that's all I could think of.
They're getting wrapped up by linguini or whatever the hell it is. Just a lame alien thing happened. Just really, really not having it. So
yeah, exactly.
Next episode, I thought was kind of an uptick. Episode 23 is Fallen Hero.
Fallen Hero. Enterprise finds itself under attack while transporting a controversial Vulcan ambassador.
Well, I like this, and again, it's more of a character study for T'Pol because they're called in an emergency to pick up this Vulcan ambassador assigned to a planet that she's been expelled. Though that it's not revealed immediately to the fact, and the whole thing really does turn out to be kind of a conspiracy that she unravels. But she turns out to be a less traditional Vulcan, and while she's on the well, T'Pol's like, well, we sign her quarters, but there's got to be nothing in it, and then blah blah blah. And then this woman shows up, and it's actress. Oh God, I'm gonna draw a blank on her name, but you end up seeing her. She played the actor who was Data's mother in the final episode of TNG, who actually turned out to be yet another android. And I will think of her name shortly because I refuse to Google. I'm not going to stop the magic here, but same actress. She was also in Auburn Tane's housekeeper and kind of Garrick's surrogate mother in DS9 in that final season. Mina or Mimas, I don't know. Again, I'm drawing a blank. But my point is, a great episode, kind of breaking conventions. T'Pol is seeing that, much like with, unfortunately, those emotional Vulcans, the one guy who turned out to be a rapist, she's seeing that there's more flavors of the rainbow to being a Vulcan than to simply being like, you got to be logic and you got to meditate every day and you got to deny your emotions and have sex once every 7 years. We're going to find out that's not really how that works for T'Pol. When we get a little later into the series, she's the character, in my opinion, that has the biggest arc of growth, I think. And there were a lot of little glimpses of that in this first season that I really enjoyed, and I thought that this was a good piece of it. So anyway.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. And I like this because we see more of the human Vulcan relationship kind of moving towards where it's going to eventually be. Right. And so I appreciated that. I do appreciate that I like the Vulcans that aren't trapped by the confines of these strict rules, right?
Right, totally.
And it makes me I'm not a strict rule person myself. So, the Vulcans, while I like them, the ones that kind of branch out a little bit, well, maybe except Sybok, but the ones that branch out a little bit are more more my cup of tea. So it's encouraging to hear that Paul's going to head that way. So
absolutely. Because if every Vulcan was like Spock, a little bit, but then you had Tuvok and Voyager, who was just very by the book, but every once in a while it would peak out. And then, even with Tuvok, you learned that there was a period in his youth where he was quite rebellious and he was infatuated with a human girl and he was going to walk all of it away to be away with her. But that was an episode that took place very late in the series, so in a lot of ways for 6 seasons he was just as boring as shit, didn't really do anything that was worth paying attention to. So it's good that, like I said, they're starting to Paul out, not saying, well, she's another Vulcan and blah 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 blah. So they get they kind of put a little beef into the vegetarian stew.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. You like that?
That was good.
So finally, the Clancy Brown episode is episode 24, which is called Desert Crossing. So go ahead, please.
Desert Crossing, or as it will now be known, the Clancy Brown episode.
The Clancy Brown episode.
Commander Tucker and Captain Archer are invited to a desert planet by a man named Zobral, only to discover that he has ulterior motives.
Dun, dun, dun. And they make him kind of sound like a bad guy. In the end of it, he's kind of a dickwad because he gets them sucked into it, and then he's like, well, what are you going to do? I guess they're on their own or whatever. Yeah, this guy, he's a rebel. He's a revolutionary. And he, I think Enterprise helps him out with some repairs, and he says, "Come down to my planet and have some food, and we'll play a little bit of, desert lacrosse or whatever the hell it is that they were doing." Which
lacrosse.
That's right. I forget who I'm talking to. Everything is space blank, like it is with you and Paul. I forget. I forget. And don't forget, a couple of episodes from now, Paul will actually be our guest when we talk about Star Trek 6. I'm really looking forward to that. But I love Clancy Brown. He brings, of course, he's very famously was in the splendid Buckaroo Banzai cult film in the 80s, which I loved, but was most famously to this generation, Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob.
Oh, God, really? That's what he's most famous for?
What were you thinking of something else?
I was thinking of like the Shawshank Redemption. He was in the Shawshank Redemption. He played the bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I tend to think of him for these two. That my oldest son, just adored SpongeBob, so I watched so much of it that's what it really grounded down for me. But I enjoyed this episode. Does it have any overall relevance to the series? Not really. No. But I thought it was cool. I like location shoots when they're obviously they're out shooting somewhere, so it actually makes you feel like they're going somewhere as opposed to, the original series where it was stage 16 and you got the foam rocks, the 9 different light sources, and so I like that. I thought that was fun. I love space lacrosse. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I enjoyed this one too. The space lacrosse is good. It's funny. I also like that there was a little bit of a question of who do you trust, right? Who's the right person here to be taking advice from? Because Clancy Brown's character tells them one thing and the politicians tell them something else. Of course, you probably should never trust politicians, but
no shit.
But there's always that question, and it's planted, of course, as soon as one person says no, you don't want to trust him.
Right, exactly, correct.
So why, right? But
always question authority. That's what we say. That's what we say here in Star Trek. So, so we finally get to the end of a journey here in the last 3 or 4 episodes. We're going to Risa. It's a vacation planet, and then they throw a bunch of crazy mix-ups. It takes them forever to get there. And this episode 25, is directed by Michael Dorn, Worf, which I never realized. So this is 2 days and 2 nights.
2 days and 2 nights, the Enterprise arrives for shore leave on Risa. While there, the crew experience more than they are willing. Well, oh boy,
you got that?
I almost had it. I was so close. While there, the crew experience more than they are later willing to admit.
Oh my goodness! So this was an episode kind of largely played for laughs. You have you have the somewhat bookish Hoshi hooking up with the dude, which good for her. You have Trip and Reed. And it's funny, like you were talking about the Shuttle Pod 1 episode, actually recalling that story to what they think are a couple of hot chicks in the bar that actually turned out to be a couple of weird shape-shifting aliens who basically try to rob them and steal their clothes. And then you get what could have been a quasi-interesting carry forward to the Tandarin Suliban situation from a few episodes back with a woman who is kind of balcony mates with the captain. And, it looks like things could be blossoming romantically. They're spending a lot of time together. Turns out she's a Tandarin spy. And she drugs him and takes off. But again, I could be mistaken, but I don't know that we ever hear from the Tandarins again. So again, a dangling plot thread. You really can't necessarily blame writers for that, because they probably have to cast a pretty wide net in a writer's room to see what it's not like throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. Hopefully, per se, though there are a lot of episodes in the season that kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
They never really, the Suliban continue to be a factor kind of next season. And then the real big capper is in the season 3 finale and the 2-part season 4 kickoff, which is my favorite, that brings to a conclusion the temporal Cold War and the Suliban arc kind of all in one. But we're a long ways off from that. So, would it have been something relevant to include the Tandorans? I have no idea. So I don't know.
Now, the things that I liked about this were well, first of all, Trip and Malcolm, their little escapade is exactly how the movie Hostel starts.
Oh, right. Oh, so, God.
That could have gone sideways real quick for them. But there's a lot to like about this episode. Like you said, though, it's just played for laughs. I do appreciate Hoshi's interaction. I like to see her ability to translate language, to learn language quickly, and just kind of experience that a little bit more. So that was fun. But one thing that really bothered me was the bit with Trip and Malcolm when they find out that the supposedly, or the beautiful supposed women or females are actually males. They have kind of a little gay panic moment where they're like,
right,
oh,
yeah,
you know,
very sitcom-y faux.
Yeah.
Like, played for like, oh, brother, you know, it's just like a
Yeah.
moment. Like, very,
exactly.
very dated, particularly for the fact that it's supposed to be 100 years from now. So yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, we're not to the point where humans and Vulcans have kind of, you know, become buddy. So, you know, these morals and these codes aren't really going to, you know, kind of be there at present, but it still feels a little like, hey, oh boy, okay, well, you know, all right, I guess the sign of the times.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, definitely a dated piece, but you know, and for the fact that this was on UPN, which was otherwise famous for really shitty urban comedies in a lot of ways. So I don't know that it has anything to do with it, but it kind of feels at home with that type of humor. So
sure. Yeah,
anyway, so moving on, ending the season, in my opinion, with a bang. Episode 26 is Shockwave Part 1.
Yes. Enterprise is recalled to Earth after the crew is blamed for the accidental destruction of a colony world. En route, it is hijacked by Suliban, and Captain Archer is trapped in the future.
Ooh, I love it. The first season 1 cliffhanger. Let me see if I'm doing my mental math correct, in Star Trek history. So great stuff. Yeah, so the Enterprise, a small outcropping of our regular group is headed down to a colony. There's a big explosion which kills something like 3,500 colonists down there. And it turns out that the entire thing was a setup by the Suliban to frame them for this, to get their mission stopped, because we remember, of course, that the Suliban, the Cabal, is taking their orders from the future. And so obviously whoever is manipulating events wants Enterprise out of the picture, because as we learned, Jonathan Archer and the entire crew continue to play a pivotal role in the development of the Federation. So I really liked this, you know, and in terms of, you know, much like was greatly enforced by Avengers Endgame, when someone dies, they don't really die in the Throx of time, because Daniels, who died in the first half of the season, is back because he's this eternal spaceman.
Right.
But yeah, when the Enterprise is finally surrounded by the Suliban, and they said, okay, we'll let you go, but Archer has to surrender himself, and he goes to climb in the shuttlecraft to leave the ship. And he says this, you know, tearful-ish farewell to everyone. He disappears into the future, the 32nd century, which it's funny, if you watch Discovery now, there are little nods and winks to the temporal Cold War. I've learned just by doing some reading. So, but it's very subtle. But anyway, when he arrives there, the planet he's on is only he and Daniels are there, and everything else is devastated.
Right.
So that's kind of a disadvantage to us formatting it in this way, because we won't revisit this again until we get all the way back around to season 2. So, Rich, as a first-time viewer, I would not forsake you to go ahead and watch that episode. Just don't tell me anything about it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you'll be doing the follow-up to this with me. We're scheduled out pretty far. But, of course, everything gets thrown off once we get to August and we finally get which we talked about last week, new episodes of a Star Trek show, in this case Lower Decks. And then it's my impression, just like in 2020, we'll hopefully also get season 4 of Discovery to follow that. So starting from August, we'll simply be talking about one new episode a week in depth. Yes. As opposed to doing this, so just really turning it over and over, and then talking about some news stories. So,
well, hopefully we get to this sooner rather than later, because this was a fantastic episode.
Oh, absolutely! Like I said, you go right ahead and watch it. But yeah, what were your thoughts, please?
Well, so I like the. I wrote down after Archer climbed into the shuttle and he gets shunted into the future. I wrote down, did he just do a quantum leap? And I was probably thinking of his co-star from a few episodes before. But anyway, the cliffhanger was fantastic. Like, I wasn't expecting to be pulled into it that much. But by the time it was over, by the time we get to the point where Daniels, was it? He says to him, that's the thing. All the equipment to send you back, it's all gone too. It's been destroyed. So we're stuck here. I literally thought to myself, well, I'm going to watch the next episode right now.
Oh, dude, yeah, and by all means, I mean, I certainly do not want to restrict your ability to do that, because, as you know, I don't even know if you and I will be breaking down the first half of season 2 together. So, but it just seemed like, you know, and maybe we need to amend this so that if it's a cliffhanger, we carry we cover the other half of it, because it's like, you know, we'll get to season 3 of TNG and it's the Borg two-parter, and we're going to say, oh, and then this thing happened, and then now we can't talk about it anymore. So, yeah, maybe it would make more sense, but as we're not explicitly prepared to do that, we will amend that for the next cliffhanger that comes around. I'll make a judge's ruling on that for next time.
Sounds good.
We'll do that. So, so that's the conclusion of season 1. So I assume, you know, even though Aaron and I talked about the first half, I assume that you watched the first half as well?
I did, yep.
Okay. So, you know, looking at the season as a whole, 26 episodes, if you were to give it a rating on, you know, 1 to 10 Vulcaneers, how many Vulcaneers would you pick?
This one I would probably give, I'd give it a solid 6. There were some really good episodes. There were some real snorers, but but I think there was more good in it than bad. And I didn't know what to expect going into it. Honestly, the reason that I steered so far away from it originally was because I didn't think that it was relevant. I didn't think that there was going to be anything interesting to say about like the beginning of the Federation.
Right.
My heart and soul is in, you know, the Voyager, Next Generation, you know, Deep Space Nine era, you know,
right?
And so coming to this and really getting to experience it for the first time without any spoilers, I never paid any attention to it. Was a lot of fun, and it's a neat little discovery for me. Oh wait, no, it's a neat little enterprise for me, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, don't you don't need to get too far ahead of yourself. So
yeah.
I'm probably with you. I would probably, you know, certainly at the time, and again, this was, as I mentioned in the kickoff to this was the first Star Trek series that I watched as an adult, because I was out of college. I had already been married and divorced, and I had a son. So I was a grown up by the time I was watching this for the first time. So, you know, you approach it with different eyes. I mean, I was 11 years old when TNG came on. I was almost 19 and in college when Voyager came on, and then so I was 25 when this show came on. So I was an adult doing adult stuff, and so you just tend to look at stuff a little differently, and you tend to look at the social issues, like in the episode Fusion, a lot differently, because again, you've lived some life and you've understood some things about kind of how the way the world works. So, yeah, I would probably go 5.5, 6 myself, because I feel like when they got it right, they really got it right, but the filler episodes were super drab and boring, and it's just a plot recycling. It's like, you know, I mean, I know we've been doing Star Trek for, you know, 35 years at this point, but I mean, guys, it's not like I'm going to forget that you not only stole a DS9 episode where Odo was one of the main characters, but then you remade it where the actor who played Odo was the main character. I mean, the snake eating its tail, eating the snake's tail. Just it's a bad scene.
Well, is that unforgivable in your mind? Like the idea that they're willing to recycle a plot. I mean, Star Trek fans are known for being voracious. We love our brand. We love Star Trek, right?
Right. True.
And do you really think you're going to pull one over on people?
Yeah, it's just a thing. You've got one of the most ardent fan bases in all of fandom, and you're not going to hornswoggle them. Now, the thought is, like, if you made something compelling, would you get a first-timer? But a recycled plot line, maybe to the uninitiated, maybe it could be compelling, but I just don't really see how. I thought that and some of the other filler episodes within this just did not cut the mustard.
Definitely.
It just really did not get it done. So anyway, well, because of the nature of the fact that we really slammed the news in last week's episode, which was talking about all the news we got on April 5 on First Contact Day, that is kind of the end of our show. So, Rich, cue up the band and take us on out of here.
Cue up the band. All right. So we've got, for more information about Starfleet International in Michigan and beyond, please visit Grand Petoskey and or Nomad on Facebook, or USS Grand Petoskey or USS Nomad on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And our Code 47 podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network and is produced by Todd Oxtra.
My little buddy. Yes. So, no, friends, thank you for joining us. We are, of course, a part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, including this wonderful show, Code 47, talking about Star Trek every Monday. The Holocron Chronicles is bi-weekly on Wednesday. That is myself and our Canadian friend Mark talking about Star Wars. The opposing Wednesday is Co-op Mode, a video game podcast with Todd and Mark. And then Todd and I, friends now for 26 years, and the last 7 of them making this wonderful podcast about geek culture called Secret Friends Unite, your guide to the geek side. You can find us on really all the podcasting services that exist out there. Leave us a 5-star rating. It does definitely increase the visibility, gets the word out. Of course, you can find us over on Twitter at Secret Friends U, the letter U. Tell something you're enjoying, a thought about Star Trek, or really about anything at all related to genre culture. If you have a question, a comment, a topic you'd like us to kick around, we definitely want to hear about that. We've got a great store on TeePublic. I was just chatting up Rich here in the pre-roll about the fact that we've got a store for Secret Friends Unite and actually also for the Grand Petoskey, which gives you the opportunity to show your love for both our podcast network. We've got all of our shows represented, and over on the Grand Petoskey, of which Rich and I are both members, of all of our different brands and units and stuff. They make T-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, travel mugs, stickers, notebooks, wall art, everything but hats. That was Rich said. So why don't we have hats?
Everything but hats.
I'm going to send them a note, and I would say, what about the hats? But at any rate, go there. They have a couple of sale windows coming up, so just kind of keep your eyes peeled. But regardless, proceeds from that actually go right back to actually support the podcast in some of our endeavors and things that we have coming up. So definitely please go out there and support us. I always almost forget, show is also available mirrored on YouTube, so please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So friends, one more time, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you as always that sharing is caring, and to keep on trekking.